It's a huge blessing to have your family involved in your business. I grew up in a family business. We are responsible for the community of which we live.
Yeah. Well, you want to call it hustle, grind, thought, people, access. And we're constantly telling people, Larry, that there is so much money in the system.
It's confidence, it's trust. And Trevor, if you just keep doing what you're doing, then your people will be on it. I was really fortunate to be born to two entrepreneurs. My father followed his father's footsteps into the home furnishings business.
Okay.
And I started working for my grandfather when I was 8 years old. Mm-hmm. And then in that same era, my mother was operating preschools and daycare centers in some of the toughest parts of Seattle. So her kids were what we referred to back then as welfare children. Mm-hmm. Those were the kids that she cared for. She had 100 kids under her care at all times. And so I had this beautiful mix, Trevor, of deep compassion and care for children who needed it most. And then this business environment that my grandfather and my father allowed me to be part of at a very early age. And that blessed me with this example that I still follow today of that we are responsible for the community of which we live, but the community is bigger than where we live. I spend 40% of my professional time on projects that are not in the United States. So I took from, again, my mother and my grandfather and father's example that the community is bigger than where we live. It's even bigger than the country we live in. It's really about the shared humanity. So I also, as a practicing Christian, follow the verse of Luke 12:48, which is, for those who have a lot is expected of them. And for those who have much, much more is expected of them. So that's my guiding light. And again, I wake up every day to honor my mother. And again, this path that my father and grandfather put us on.
That's awesome. I don't think they called it entrepreneurship back then, or at least when my dad was doing it either.
You just it was called Let's Go to Work.
It's beautiful. Very interesting. So, our business is predicated on people buying trips and experiences for fundraising purposes and gathering in large groups. So you can imagine during the COVID period that was a little challenging.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We were a leaner bunch, back then. There's 23 of us now. Oh, God. At this point, when this drops, it'll be like 23, 24. And we built a family business. So our first employee, my partner and I, our first employee was my sister. And then our second employee was his daughter. And they're still with us. But it's interesting. I don't think my dad knew that he was an entrepreneur. I think that there's a few things. I think that curiosity, of course, dictates that. I think that not taking order, like not being an order follower or a rule follower, right. And not being risk averse, right? And there's different layers of entrepreneurship, of course, especially over the years. My dad was one. I don't think that he knew he was one. And similar story, he had a flooring company, a commercial flooring company in San Francisco, and take me to the high rises. And I would pick up the scraps of the carpet that he cut, around the tack, around the outer of the building. But I'm up in high rises and riding elevators, and I'm 7, 8 years old, and I think it's the coolest thing ever. And all I wanted to do, it was so cool. It was so cool. And all I wanted to do was I was like, I want to be in business one day, that kind of thing. Those are the thoughts I was having. I wanted to play for the San Francisco Giants, all told. But
on the weekends.
Yeah. Candlestick Park's not there anymore, and I don't play in the major leagues, right?
Right.
But it was very interesting, Larry, because I was remembering doing that work with my dad, and then we moved, up north. My dad opened a restaurant. He felt like there was a need for a particular niche of a restaurant. He created this restaurant, and it was hard, and it was very slow to begin with. As many, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard, right? That's business. And ended up, building a flourishing restaurant was interesting. I was 12, 13 years old, and I remember him leaving me at the restaurant. We needed something, so we had to drive across town to go get it at the restaurant supply place. And we're open, and the grill's going, and the phone's ringing. There's a cash register, and there's 2 entries. And he left me alone. And I was, my pants. And he left me, and he was back probably in 45 minutes, but nothing happened. You know what I mean? Like nothing bad happened, frankly. Like the phone rang, I answered it. I took the orders, I cooked the food, this and the other thing. And I didn't know at the time, of course, at that age, what he was doing. And he was prepping me, right, for life and all these things. And so I'm driving around in 2020. We got this company that turned in this beautiful thing. And it's difficult to make the cash register ring, so to speak, at the time. And I was getting a little emotional, but I thought, and in typical fashion, I was like, when I'm thinking about someone, I text them or I call them. It's like, hey, this was, it's just been a thing that just thoughtfulness or whatever. And I remember saying, I was like, hey, man, this is what's going on. I know you have a little bit of an idea about what we do, but you know what? We're going to be okay. And I know why. And I said, it's because you left me in that damn restaurant. And you threw me in the mud and you made me realize that I could get out of it.
Yep.
Oh, geez. It's the end of a long day. I'm getting emotional talking about it. But, and I thanked him and I was like, wow, man, it was because he did that. So, that we did, right. It was just, but I think
that's also called a recurring thought, what you just described.
Yeah.
So it's a guiding light is what it is. And recurring thoughts can obviously be really productive and some of them can be destructive, but the ones that, again, continue to give us the, not only the drive to keep going, but the belief, because if we've done it once, we can do it again. Recurring thoughts. And I'm going to tell you a quick business story because I just heard it yesterday. You know the company Chewy that sends you dog food and any
sure.
other? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So there was a story told yesterday that I saw, I think on LinkedIn, and basically once you subscribe to Chewy, they send your dog food, they send treats, they send whatever your food for your pet. Anyway, the acknowledgement at Chewy is that unfortunately dogs don't last forever, right? And neither do cats. And so one of the things that they said that they know about consumer behavior is that one of the most emotional things that people do after an animal passes is cancel their Chewy subscription, because that box coming to the front door was so important that they wanted to keep coming, even though their animal is not around. They let it happen. They let it happen a month. They let it happen 2 months. And then they've studied it and they know that on the third month, the people are going to call and say, they can finally handle the conversation. Yeah. My dog died. And what Chewy does is they give them credit if they say, okay, we're incredibly sorry. When did your dog die? And they say, well, he died 3 months ago. They say, okay, we're going to credit you back those 3 bags of food, and we don't want the food back, but we want you to give it to somebody. Give that food away. And then they send a note. Chewy sends a handwritten note from the person that you talk to on the phone with a small bouquet of flowers. Wow. Now, the point of this was that this is recurring thoughts. These are recurring instances that happen at Chewy every day. And do you think, Trevor, that once you get another dog, that you are going to buy your dog food from anywhere else except Chewy?
There's no option.
So my point here is, every time you're in a tight spot, you're the Chewy story, right? You go back to those high rises with your family, picking up that tax trip and stuff. And you go back to that moment where the car drove away to go to the supply store and you realized that you were there by yourself. Yeah. So recurring thoughts, they're some of the most powerful pieces and chapters of our life. And I have them every day because I had so many rich experiences with my father and my grandfather and my mother, that they are my recurring thoughts. And I try to, again, spend as much time in thought and in gratitude for those. So
anyway. I think it's low. Oh gosh, man, that's good. Hey,
the Chewy thing it's really incredible.
Hey, great start. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm so enthralled with the space, and I'm such a student of fundraising. And that beginner's mindset is something I remind myself of every day.
Yeah.
That it sounded like the things that you were talking about was something that if folks are listening in the development space could really apply to their donors, to those that are supporting.
I think if we spend, and I spend a lot more time in thought about how to help message on behalf of nonprofits when I see myself as in a role of trust. First of all,
you're an extension.
Someone spends a whole year creating a gathering of their most important supporters. I spend as much time thinking about what am I going to say that validates, number one, that I need to be here, that I have earned the opportunity to be here representing this cause. And one of the things that I always ask my friends in the development space to think about is, do you remember when you're keeping a database of your donors and all of a sudden this new gift of $500 shows up? Who is this person? Right? We don't have a record in our database of them. It's a new donor. And that is such a rush for even me, but also for the people that manage these databases that represent these donors, is who is this person that sent us $500? We're really curious about them. Well, that same curiosity factor, if we could just keep that alive with every single person that gives $1, why do you give $1? Yeah. There must be a purpose behind the reason why you've made this donation. Are you doing it because to a healthcare organization because your mother was a nurse? Are you doing it because, what is it? And it doesn't have to be, in my opinion, a really long conversation with a donor. You just need to figure out what their why is, because once you've got that figured out, it's the whole Chewy thing, right?
It's a wrap.
They have figured out the why as to why people order their food from Chewy and why they don't ever want to stop. I think there's a huge metaphor to all of this.
No question. No, I mean, I was going to go. I was going to start going the physiological route, where it's like, because we talk about this a lot, Larry, and this is not a buzz. This is real right now. It's something like that dopamine hit when you get that new donation, right?
Yeah.
Which you should, and you should be excited about that because you put the work in. But as in so much that is so real, why is it? And I just want to hear your experience and what can we not recreate that with the second gift? Why do we spend? Is it because of that dopamine hit? Is it because of that? Oh my gosh, someone's new. They came on board. I made the cash register. It's business in the door. All these different things we can use to ascribe that feeling. It's like, but what is it about not picking up the phone and having that conversation? What is it about just, we focus so much on the new, but we don't focus enough on the ones that we have in front of us, right? Enough. Yeah. Speak to me about that phenomenon, your experience. Yeah.
My experience has been that once you have the why, you need to make note of it, first of all. And then when you have, again, I spend a lot of time in healthcare fundraising. I've been involved in pediatric brain tumor research fundraising for ever and ever because I lost someone that was very close to me at 11 years old, and I walked the path to Brandon's last breath. And so I somewhat made a promise with him when the last time we played Lego together that I would spend the remaining days of my life making sure that if other kids had the same DIPG diagnosis that he did, that we would have new medicine and new techniques, and that they wouldn't have to spend so much time in the hospital like he did. And so when I know that a donor, a supporter, is making a recurring donation to the Pediatric Brain Tumor Research Lab or Project Violet or any of these other initiatives that I'm involved in, the reason why they keep doing it is because of Brandon, right? So we just need to keep reminding ourselves to remind our donors that Brandon's legacy is very much the reason why we do this work, and we need to partner with you, the donor, to keep going.
Yeah.
We still have a lot of work to do, but what we're not going to stop doing is thinking about Brandon. And so that's my answer to your question.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. It seems pretty obvious, right, to us, but at the same time, it just it goes by the wayside, unfortunately. Sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And we're so focused on new, that there's such a tremendous opportunity to deepen the relationship with the folks that are right in front of us.
Right.
That sounds like so many similarities now to life too, right? Gosh, something's been happening. You said entrepreneurship. Something's been happening where I'm watching this, and you and I connected on LinkedIn. I'm really grateful. I've never said anything like, "Hey, I'm grateful for Instagram." Facebook introduced me to my wife. Like, I've never done this, but I don't believe in LinkedIn is social media. And I'm not saying it's the end all be all and it's all sunshine and roses, because you're probably, if you want to find some darkness, you can find it anywhere, right?
Oh yeah.
But you and I met on LinkedIn, and I see so much very, very, very strong thought leadership in fundraising, because I think there's a need, there's a craving for it. The community needs it. I feel like event fundraisers are on an island and are wearing 14 hats and this and that and the other thing. And so much of the how-to and the right steps, I feel like mimic entrepreneurship. It's very interesting to me. And the nonprofit moniker was created by an accountant. It's not a business plan. It's a tax designation, as my partner Jason says. He said it's a tax designation. It's not a business plan.
Right.
And I've had some amazing folks on the pod and talk about business in the door. And it mimics sales. It mimics branding.
You're talking about transactional existence.
Okay.
And that's not what philanthropy is. It's easy to talk that way because that's business speak.
Yeah.
But that's absolutely not the way I look at it. In fact, there's a lot of others in my space who promote the amount of money that they raised that night.
Mm-hmm.
And I am 100% opposed to that. And the reason why is because the financial gain that comes from a campaign, whether it's in person, online, whatever, is the fuel of the impact, right? And the fuel of the impact for me is just a means to an end. I want to know, when we raise however many dollars for a pediatric brain tumor research trial, how many kids that's going to affect. And I'm serious, Trevor.
Impact.
That's not where I focus my attention.
Impact,
but impact, but also, how many Brandons is that?
That's what I mean. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How many Brandons is that?
Yeah.
And so that's a philosophy that matters to me because, first of all, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create some sense of progress in an area that is very hard to move the needle. It specifically, again, I know I'm talking, kind of specific about cancer research, but it's really hard to move the needle.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot more time than people think. We are just coming up finally on a product called Tumor Paint that is finally coming to market. And this has been, 2011. So how long is that?
That's 14 years. Time. Yeah.
That's a long time.
Well, when you say it takes time, my mind immediately, because I know a little bit about it, goes to decades.
Yeah.
Immediately.
But I guess what I'm saying is, in the mind of this, we got to raise money. And then I say to you, we'll raise money, but it's going to take 13 or 14 years. You like,
hold on, man.
That's not fast enough.
Yeah.
And yet that's the space that I choose to work in, is in that space. And then some of the international spaces, it takes a while. And the best people, believe it or not, to help you are those who have lost a child to pediatric brain tumor one of the many pediatric brain tumor variants. So anyway.
Yeah, it's a 1-to-1. It's very difficult to raise money for a rare disease if you've never been affected by it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you've never experienced loss. Yeah.
And that's where the first, for example, tumor paint, and I encourage you to look it up when you have a chance.
Was this the most, sorry to interrupt you, Larry, but was this, because I did see some new releases recently.
Yeah.
Some big press releases. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes. So there's a lot of things coming out, specifically on the West Coast, because down in the Bay Area, they're doing a lot of research. But here in the Seattle area, Fred Hutchinson Research Center is a leader in pediatric brain tumor research, fundraising or research. Mm-hmm. And so, but anyway, that is just coming to market. And the first $20 million that needed to be raised for that, just to get it off the ground and hire the both PhD candidates and what they call the PIs, which are the primary investigators for a research study, that took that amount of money just to launch it. And I don't know if you think $20 million is a lot of money, but I think it's a ton of money to start something. Yeah. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because NIH, NCI, which is the National Cancer Institute, the two largest funders of these studies, said, no way, we're not getting involved in this. So all that money was philanthropy.
Yeah.
$20 million just to launch something, we all had to come from private pools of money.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, my point of telling you this is it was the parents. Yeah. It was Brandon's mom. It was Violet's mom and dad. It was all these incredibly affected families that said, even though our child is no longer with us, we don't want families to go through this again. And they were willing to go in honor of their child to make sure that children in the future would have a better outcome.
That's amazing.
It's beautiful. And these are the people I get to hang around with. They are remarkable people.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, it's awesome you got to meet them and got to help as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I still spend time with them.
I was going to say, it sounds pretty special.
Yeah. It's really important.
Yeah. Well, we can go down a rabbit hole now. I've experienced loss in that regard too. And it's a lot. Yeah. It definitely hits you forever. I want to, you're telling an amazing story
Thank you.
so far, but you're a storyteller and a hope dealer and an author. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I kind of wanted to get in the weeds a little bit, but I actually, and I want to get to the hope dealer, and I actually do want to talk about gatherings and events and what have you. But I was really fascinated to look at the miracles in Montanare.
Sure.
And I want you to explain that, because you talk about it and the effect that it had on you personally and your family and your way of life. And I want you to kind of talk to the audience about that. And, where is Montanare and all that? And
sure. So I was privileged to go to college in Rome many years ago, and made a bunch of friends when I was there, and friends from all over the world. And we all stayed in touch. And then I went back. That was in 1995. And then in 1997, I went back again, but did it as a concentrated study in film. So I went to the Fujimura studio in Florence to go to film school. And anyway, that was an incredible experience as well. So I really got into just the history of film, the making of film, their photography school, runway photography, set lighting, all this stuff. So then I took that experience and started a company called Foto Italiana, which was in its inception was a fine art photography company. So large images in very fancy frames that cost a fortune. And what I quickly found out was that everybody loves to come to the shows, but no one buys anything. Yeah. So I quickly switched, and this was kind of the build out of the internet in 1998. And switched it to a stock photography company. And so that was where the cash flow was. So selling pictures in small frames for $60, $80 at markets, and also licensing for single copyright use to Expedia and other companies that needed images of Italy, everything Italy, from food to people to wine barrels to just lifestyle photography. But anyway, and so then I went back in 1999, did another historical study, and then I met Jill. And I met Jill because she had stayed at the same place in Italy that I did, but not at the same time. And the respective people that we had stayed with decided we should meet. So once we were back stateside, they invited me to a blind date to her birthday party. And that was December 27th, 2002. And we literally have been together every day since.
Oh, wow.
So one of our dreams was, well, first of all, we decided, or Jill decided, that if this was going to be a real relationship, we needed to go on a trip and see if we can make it work. So we called it.
Yeah, that's the best way to find out, by the way. That's the best way to find out.
Yeah, we called it the Try It Before You Buy It tour, is what it was. And so
lease with an option to buy, as Eddie Murphy says.
It was 1 month together traveling, and we had really not known each other that long.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got engaged on the last day of that trip. And so then we began kind of hatching other dreams and desires. And one of them was, could we live in Italy for 1 year? Could we make that happen? And she was at a crossroads in her career, and I'm an entrepreneur, so my favorite word is yes. And anyway, so we did it. We moved to a little tiny village called Montanare, which a exchange student that had stayed with us here years before had introduced us to, and it was a door into paradise, because we moved into this little village in Montanare, in a little tiny Tuscan village of 300 people.
Wow.
And they let us all the way into their lives. We are literally part of that community now. And so we spent that year there, and then we have spent a month a year there every year since. We've missed COVID, obviously, but pretty much every year, with the exception of a couple, we go back and spend a month with them. And we talk to them on a semi-regular basis through WhatsApp and other. But the thing that's unique about all of these people, Trevor, is we're the only Americans they've ever met. Okay, and then the most important is none of them speak a word of English.
Well, I was going to assume, yeah, of course, yeah, that's awesome.
So our relationship is extremely deep. Yeah. But also incredibly authentic, because it has to be in order for to survive in a little tiny place where you know nothing, and you rely so much on these people who have never met you before. Yeah. And so it was such an incredible lesson in shared humanity, right? And so that's Montanare, and it informs our lives every day. Wow. When we came back from that trip of living there for 1 year, we came back with a lot more than we thought, in the form of 2 weeks after we got back, Jill asked me to come in the bathroom, and there was a pregnancy test kit on the counter, and we were going to be parents. And so the name of the book, Miracles in Montanare, is because our daughter Daniela was conceived there, but also all these other amazing parts of our lives were also conceived in that. So that's why the name of the book is Miracle in Montanare.
So amazing how things like that can and not predicated on the spoken word, right? You know,
or the common spoken word. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, so that again it's just been a huge gift of humanity for us.
I love it. Yeah. Well, cool. That's awesome. What a great, that's a great story, man. Yeah. Similar in my, I married my dream girl, and same thing, it's like we get together and go for a walk, and then we haven't been apart ever since. We didn't go, hey, I didn't have a ton of money at the time, entrepreneur. I didn't have a ton of money. I said yes to everything, but I wasn't making the cash register move too much. But it's interesting. I think you could speak of this too. It's funny that we're taking a romantic take on the pod, but I love it. But it's amazing how much my life has taken a sharp and to the right turn. Since I met my wife. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing how much more life has meant, and how much more I want to build. Yeah.
I think also too, we were meant to be with others.
Oh, no question. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
of course.
We're better together.
Yes, of course.
And also, in my late mother's words, we're all good at something.
Yeah.
But you can't be good at everything.
Yeah.
People that profess to be that really find it hard to find someone like them, because it's just not possible. So
there's an interesting Thackeray quote where it's like, choose a thing and be exceptional at it. Yeah. You know, and I often say, because, you know, and I know this happens to you probably a lot. I would assume it's starting to happen to me more and more. And I feel like I have the agency to speak about it, from taking my lumps and being in business for a while and stuff, and building something cool and being, so enthralled with it. But, it's going to be hard no matter what. But, what I tell people, it's extremely difficult, because people come in, well, I want to do this, and I want to wear this hat and that hat, and I want to do it all and stuff like that. It's like, well, hold on. It's really, really difficult to be exceptional at multiple things. Right. Right? I just that's what I distill it down to. It's like, man, it's really, really hard to be great at multiple things. And hats off to you if you are, but I call those people polymaths, right?
Yeah.
Right? So,
well, also too, it's helpful to have a roadmap. And I was just incredibly fortunate to, as I said, start this first career at such an early age, and then be ready to chart another path before I was 40, right? Yeah. And so what I did was, I think I was about 28 or 29 years old, and I went in the back office of the showroom that I happened to be at. We had multiple showrooms, and I put a 3x5 card in the typewriter, right? The typewriter.
Yeah. I've been there.
Okay. And I typed out 10 important attributes that I wanted my life to represent after the furniture business, not during the furniture business, after. And so that became my roadmap. And those goals I still have sitting above on this really faded out 3x5 card. I have it in a little plastic sleeve.
Yeah.
You can barely read it, but those are still my core goals, but it's also my core roadmap. So the reason why I bring that up is just that anytime I'm offered some unbelievable thing that gets me all excited, I got to run it through that filter.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be all over the map. I am all over the map, but I mean, I'd really be over the map. So I kind of, it centers me. It's kind of a wayfinder, those 10 goals. Does it fit in there somehow?
Yeah.
And then the other aspect I've tried to use as a guidepost is, how does, my mother's name was Jean, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, the WWJD, what would Jesus do, right? I've just changed it from Jesus to Jean, right? And so what would she do? What would she think about this? And that's important to me, and that helps me make good decisions.
I know it's very personal, but so much of what you do seems very personal, right?
It is.
Do you care to share some of those 10
sure.
values?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the number one thing on that list is to live for happiness. Life is way too short to carry judgment, sadness. It's okay to experience those emotions, but process them so that you can get back to happiness. Mm-hmm. So that is and has been always number one for me, is to I was born into, great possibility. How could you be sad about that, first of all? So that's number one. The second one is to enjoy family togetherness. And so I don't want, hopefully never will, my family to be by the way or afterthought. Once I get all my work done, once I do this, once I do that, then I can spend time with my family. Not happening. So that was number 2. Being resourceful is important to me. Okay. And what that really means is I've had all these unique experiences with lots of different people, but how resourceful am I being with those relationships?
Like reciprocity. Yeah.
But also if I know someone that Trevor needs to know, I believe in abundance. Yeah. I believe that there's enough to go around. And I also believe that much like the whole Chewy story, once Trevor thinks about who he would like to refer somebody back to, I want to be top of mind with you, right? I want that to be top of mind. And man, once you get that kind of spun up in your life, it's fun. It's really fun.
Once you make that decision. Yeah.
Right. Well, but also once you spend your time thinking, when you find out somebody has a need and you know someone that can solve, and this is where Facebook's been hugely helpful to me, because basically I just take this person and I DM them both and say, you guys need to chat. Because in fact, I did that just the other day. This woman, did a curiosity conversation was the name of her TED talk. And then this other guy who is a retired Seahawk, he's doing these curiosity conversations in front of classrooms to inspiring kids to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Be curious about everything.
Use imagination.
All I did, Trevor, is I just put those two together. And now if I could just get out of their conversation, I haven't figured out how to get out of but they're just going on and on and on. And that makes me really happy, right?
Yeah.
To be the connector of two people that needed to meet each other. So being resourceful is hugely important to me, because I feel like I'm making the world better just by connecting people. Right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
a conduit.
That's a few of them. I can get into them, but
no, I love that. What's interesting when you said that, you and I have a lot in common, and I get so much joy out of introducing people, especially in our space, because I think, because you said abundance, and the opposing trait is scarcity, right? Or what have you, whatever you want to use. And I just feel like also there's a societal, it's like, I have to hold on to this. It's like, what for? And when you decide you choose to live abundantly, I'm not trying to get all corny on you, but it's true.
No, I agree that.
But when you make that conscious decision and you can be happy for other success genuinely. And you can go, you know what? I'm just going to give my best info away for free. And I started doing this thing, and Larry brings me so much joy. I literally will go out of my way, because life has been so good to me that every single day I will make it a point to introduce people to others. It's like, this person, I really like their, this, that, and the thing. And it's so funny because our equity as a company, part of my equity as an individual are the relationships that I've built.
No question.
The partnerships.
Right.
And I want everyone to experience that. And I'm telling you, at the sake of whatever that means for me, my gain, I've gotten so much juice out of introducing people and bringing people together. I love being a conduit. It sounds like you do too. You said something very interesting about putting happiness first. And I started writing down some rules when my life started getting really good. And I did 4. And they're not. I haven't spilled a lot of coffee on them, and they don't need to be in a plastic bag yet.
I got you.
but what was the one that was resonated with me that you mentioned was the happiness piece, right? And that was your number 1. I think it's number 1 for a reason. Mine was be kind to everyone, because you never know who you're going to meet, right? So let's just start there. But there was a caveat with my rule. It was be kind to everyone, especially yourself. Because you cannot give what you do not have. Well,
that's that. And also, when our lives are overwhelmed with gratitude, that is because you're being good to yourself. You've been you overwhelmed with gratitude because you've allowed the goodness to come into you. And I honestly probably tears in my eyes 5 days a week. And the reason why is because I have the best possible situation where I am put in a position of trust to move missions and make life better for other people. And I get to do it all day long. I mean, if that doesn't move you to some emotion, then I don't think the spigot's wide open in terms of the mind. And do you know who Jimmy Valvano was?
Of course, Jimmy V. Yeah.
Jimmy V.
Yeah.
So, did you ever watch the SB speech?
Of course, many times, because that's mid to late 90s. It's mid 90s. Yeah. I'm a product of the 80s and 90s. I'm on ESPN, glued to it. Of course.
Yeah, okay.
So
you've watched that, and
he said to cry every day.
Well, he said a few things. He says, There's 3 things I want you to remember.
Yeah.
I want you to spend some time in thought. Yeah. I want you to have your emotions move you to tears. And I want you to laugh. Yeah. And he says, if you do those 3 things, that is a full day.
Yeah.
And I just believe that in my heart.
What a self-deprecating, amazing, moving speech. That's just timeless.
Yeah, and I
remember they turned the music on. He's like, I'm dying of cancer. Where am I going to go?
Right. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's like,
and he said he used a swear word in Italian.
He did.
Too.
He's like Marone or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It was so good. It was so good.
But also too, remember, Trevor, that those are the people that we get to follow, right?
Yeah.
So if we know the road that ended for Jimmy V, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yet he was able to stand up there and accept the Arthur Ashe Award and remind us and implore us and direct us. Mm-hmm. I just don't know what else the person needs to understand how valuable your life is and how fleeting it is and how finite it is. Than that speech. It just can't get any clearer than that.
So good. It's very interesting because you were talking about, at this point in your life and how many missions you've affected and built things and experienced. It sounds like you live a very full life and you're moved to tears, however many days a week you mentioned. And it's been happening to me a lot more lately. And it's people, right, for me. And or at least it seems like it. And I get to, I told my partner, Jason, that I've really been able to identify my joy a lot recently. Like I really kind of knew, and I was given a gift. My mom came in my room and opened up my windows in the sunshine because I grew up in California, and she'd sing to me, and it's like I've been happy. I was given a gift, man. I'm glass half full and wildly optimistic about things. And I noticed that I turned the page really quick, and when I'm down, I'm not down for very long, not for a couple of days, for like a half hour. And that's not a comparison. I was just given a gift, and I'm so grateful, right? But there's been things, it's very interesting, Larry, because you've been in business for a long time and ever since you were a child, right? And in some form or fashion, I have too. And we've built this beautiful team, a family business. We're not all related, but a lot of us are. And everyone that's a part of the team is family. And it's and the work that we get to do. I think I say we're Jason, my partner, says we're helping the people that are the safety nets of society. And I say often, I really do feel like we're doing God's work.
No question.
And what was interesting was, you'll appreciate this, it happened very recently. And I've been having these moments, like I'm driving home. We moved out in the country, like 15 minutes outside of town. So life's not as convenient. I'm a city boy and I don't even know what a septic tank is. And I'm driving now. So I get my time for thought. It's really awesome, as opposed to coming down a hill and I'm at work in 3 minutes. It's very interesting change in the last year for myself and my family, and just quiet. Very, very very, once again, very blessed too. But I had a moment where I'm talking to our team throughout the day, to different people. and we need things and things need to get done and this and that and the other thing. And 4 or 5 people respond to me, and the pace is just exceptional. I'm on it. I'm like, what's going on? Like, that's not in our handbook. They all told me I'm on it. Gentlemen, he's 2 hours ahead. We're spread out all over the country, most of us, right? And another joy of the work that we get to do and help people all across the country too. But gentleman's 2 hours ahead of me, and he's flying in to be with his mother for Mother's Day, and I forgot. And I'm driving home, and it's like 5 o'clock at night. So it's 7 o'clock his time, and he's on a plane and this and that. And I send him someone that needs some assistance that's having an event. And like I said, I forgot that he's in transit, he's spending time with his family and whatnot. And I said, I told this gal you'd get at her today. You'd reach out to her today. And I'm driving home, and I get back into cell reception. I look down at my phone. He says, I'm on it. And that was the 6th person that day that said the exact same thing. And I just was like, I was overcome. I was like, oh my God, what did we build? You know what I mean? Where it's like, everyone is pulling in the same direction. Everyone will bleed for these organizations. Everyone will run through a wall, for these people. And that's been happening a lot more, in my life. It's very interesting to behold.
Well, that comes with mutual respect, right? You understand you've earned that.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
As the leader, you have come to the side of the people for which now are coming to your side. It's mutual respect. Yeah. And that only comes, it's earned. There's no management book that you can read that earns you mutual respect. It's action. It's confidence. It's trust. And Trevor, if you just keep doing what you're doing, then your people will be on it as long as you need them to be on it.
It's pretty wild, man.
I'm serious. It's important.
It's interesting too. I mean, it's interesting to like find yourself in positions where you're like, you never really, I visualize things. I don't know if you're big into that and seeing things happen over time, and I'm not trying to get too existential, right? Or esoteric in a way, right? Where I really see it, but I never thought it'd be like this. Do you find yourself, and I want this to hopefully this is a decent conduit or segue into, talking about the Hope Dealer, the book and what it means and whatnot. But did you gave yourself quote unquote permission to write that? Did you find yourself all of a sudden in a place where you're just like, wow, like I can't believe I got here. Holy smokes, this is wild. I got to tell the story, type thing. And what that means. Tell me what that means to you.
Well, part of what it means is, and I'll talk a little bit about what Hope Dealer, this book that's coming out in the fall, is all about. I've had, again, much like you, the huge gift of different people that have come into my life. Some came for a season, but everybody came for a reason, and some stayed for life. And so I started a list of people. Actually, the second book that I wrote is called Which One Am I?
Yeah.
And it is a book that I wrote about my mom.
Yeah.
But then I found out I had 12 other people just like her in my life as well. So I wrote a story about my mom and her attributes, and then 12 other people that have attributes like her, but have very unique contributions to society themselves.
Testimony.
So I was really lucky that those people allowed me, those people, some were close to me, others were not. And so what Hope Dealer is it's a memoir of about 30 different experiences that I've had in fundraising. So in other words, the relationship started that way. They put their hope in me. Mm-hmm. They put their mission in me. And so I am the dealer of hope, but again, I am handed things that people have spent their whole life, for a lot of them, working on. Yeah. And one great example is next Thursday, we're launching another school project but this one in Tanzania. So I've worked in Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Sierra Leone, which is West Africa, Liberia, which is West Africa. And each of those places is a different NGO, is a different organization. So next Thursday, we are launching the construction of a new school. So the seed funding of a new school. And how this happened was I was approached after speaking at a large organization called Impact Players about 5 different missions that have been really important to me. And I was approached after that by a 19-year-old kid who said, I have, for my half of my life, and he's 19 years old, have envisioned building a school in Africa. And I said, okay, well, tell me more. I want to hear the whole story. So we ended up having a separate conversation. And he said, will you help me? And I said, that was exactly what this talk was about, was that where I am now at 63 years old is I am now responsible to turn around and lend a hand to those people who want to chart their own course. I'm here to tell you how to do it, but I'm not just going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to do it with you. We're going to do it together. And so next Thursday, we are having a gathering of a whole assortment of people, his friends, his dad's friends, the Impact Players' friends, my friends, other people who have supported the work that I've done around the world. And we are literally going to provide the seed money for Ethan, that's this kid, to build a school in his name in Tanzania. And so that's a pretty authentic and pure form of being a hope dealer, right? This kid is putting all of his hope in me to show him the way so that he can one day fly to Tanzania, be in this village, and cut the ribbon on a school in his name.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
He's 19 years old.
I love it. I want more. I want to hear more stories about 19-year-olds doing that.
Right.
I think it's amazing.
Right.
I have a 21-year-old. I told you that booked this podcast. So and I'm very exceptionally proud of her, by the way.
Yeah. Well, that's what Ethan wants. Is he's been thinking about this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Half of his life. And so
good on him.
So every one of the stories that is in the new book, Hope Dealer, is about initiatives like this.
Yeah.
And people that I've met that have just kind of blown my mind that they're so selfless. But I've also written about and experienced through street ministry people that have transformed others from deep addiction to sobriety to service. The same person. And those people are exactly the kind of people that my mother was, right?
Yeah.
She stepped in and said, I'm the answer because you can't solve this yourself.
Yeah.
So I will help you find the way. Yeah. So that's what I'm really excited about with Hope Dealers, being able to share that in writing, but also to go out and do a lot of speaking around it and implore people to be their own hope dealer. And when you see something, just give yourself the authorship to be the answer, number one, but also, and this is where this resourcefulness comes in, to look around. There are other people that will help you. Often people don't want to be the leader. They want to be involved, but they don't necessarily want to drive it. I love driving things, and I don't have any problem driving things, and you drive things too.
Yeah.
Right? We can be the leader, but it requires other people to be involved. And so there's a lot of people who sit on the sidelines that are waiting for a hope dealer because they don't have enough necessarily confidence in their ability, or, too much what if. And, that's really the difference between Jill and I is that she wants details. I don't have any details.
Yeah. Don't ask me. I know where we're going. Just don't ask me how to get there.
I don't know how this is going to work, but it's going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to work because we're honoring somebody's life. Yeah. That's why it's going to work. And that is not a good enough answer for a lot of people, but it's good enough for me. So
I love that.
That's what the Hope Dealer is all about.
Well, and also weaving fundraising back into that as well. Yeah. It's, I think it's the greatest time ever to be alive. I just
no question.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't understand why it's not more prominent of a thought.
But can I stop you there for a second? This is really important point.
Yes, please.
When there are a lot of other people who do not realize the golden era that we're in, what does that do, though, for the people that do know, like you?
I think it's a separator.
It accelerates your movement.
I'm living proof of it.
You don't have a lot of competition.
No, and I one of my rules, that's really funny that you mentioned that, because I weave business into my 4 rules that I mentioned to you.
Yeah.
One is differentiation is stronger than competition.
No question.
And I think right now is the biggest time to be different.
Yeah.
Where you want to call it hustle, grind, thought, people, access. And we're constantly telling people, Larry, that there is so much money in the system. There is so much opportunity.
Yeah.
There are so many fundraising dollars. There are people that are not being asked to, we reframe the term asked to invite. There are not enough people being invited to get involved and to give.
There's also a phenomenon now, and I would encourage you to look it up, called the silver tsunami. And this is basically the silver tsunami is people between 70 and 85 years old right now that control a immense amount of wealth, and they're just sitting on it. And the reason why they're just sitting on it is because that's how they grew up. You live within your means.
Yeah.
You put aside. My grandpa's deal was the first 20 cents that you owe or that you earn. First 20 cents belongs to your future, not the last 20 cents. The first 20 cents. And so that's how he was able to sustain a debt-free business for so long, was because the first 20 cents, again, not the last 20 cents, the first 20 cents belongs to your future. And I've tried to follow that. It's easier said than done.
Sure.
When you have investments that need, like real estate, that need constant cash flow.
Sure.
But that is one hell of a playbook, is to use the 20 cent rule.
I think it's great. I absolutely think it's great. I just think there's so much, it's loose term, but there's just so much opportunity. There's just so much.
And I agree, Trevor. I think but that's the abundance mindset. There's no question. You believe that because you have reason to believe that. And if I've learned anything in the last couple of years, I belong to a couple of conversation groups with people very, very different than me, very different. And the reason why we do this in the first place is because we're trying to learn to have more courageous conversations without killing each other. And also that we can walk out the same door we came in and still love each other. Right.
It's important.
It's super hard.
Yes.
So fortunately we have a moderator who is a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals retired judge. And he's the one that keeps...
He's a professional moderator.
Well, he's the one that keeps things from getting out of hand. Right? He lets them get just about out of hand, and then he brings it all back. But anyway, I just want to tell you this, what Chris told us early on in this first conversation group. He said, everybody in their lives comes to this point where they are with good reason. And that has been one of the most powerful guiding lights for me with respect to every conversation I've had. It's like, how in the world did that person come up with that thought?
Yeah.
Right? How did they think that? And the reason is because they have good reason. Their life path has taken them to this point.
Yeah.
They came to this with good reason. And so for you have been offered a world of abundance, right? Because you've created that. So you have come to this point in your life with good reason. And so I bring that up because you were talking about how can people not see this or whatever. It's because their good reason is different than yours.
Yeah.
And it really helps.
I respect that.
It has helped so much, especially if we get people to talk about the hard stuff without burning your house down.
Flipping.
So
yeah, it sounds like that those kinds of thoughts are just help you understand people better, which we all need.
And they help you understand. They give peace to you. Yeah. Right. They give peace to you.
I had a very important person in my life, one of the greatest men I've ever met, started his own church, and he was very kind to me and my youngest daughter when it was just the two of us and I didn't have any family around, and I needed it. And he said something very indelible to me that just made me think of it when you're just talking about peace to you. It's like he was talking about forgiveness. And he said something to me I still repeat to this day. He said, forgiveness does not let the other person off the hook. It lets you off the hook.
No question.
Yeah. Because that is a burden. That's a heavy burden, man. Right.
Yeah. And life, my dad used to tell me that life was not meant to be complicated or hard. And usually when you're carrying around disappointment, hate, whatever, you're making your life hard and complicated. Yeah. And so that was my dad's big deal, was it's just not meant to be hard or complicated. And that's easier said than done because you have to think and act that way, right? Yeah. You have to polish that over time as well, right? It's real. Yeah. There was something you mentioned, Luke 12:48 as your favorite Bible passage. Yeah. Yeah. My favorite is Philippians 4:12. Not to compare. Comparisons. No, that's okay.
Joy. But I never get an opportunity to share it on the pod, and it was interesting because it's I know what it is to have nothing, and I know what it is to have everything, and I've learned to be content in both.
Yeah.
And
that's beautiful. That's maturity, though, right? That's a mature set of thoughts where.
Not mine. Not mine.
No, but I mean, you've seen both sides, right? You've lived both sides, and you know both sides, and that's what makes your life complete, or more complete, is that you've had the chance to live on both sides of abundance and scarcity, and you choose both because both is what gives you the knowledge and the confidence to move forward because you've had it. Do you follow that? I can't remember his name, but he's a kid that does a little series called The School of Hard Knocks. Do you know who this kid is?
If I saw it, maybe, but no.
You would. So he goes all over the place and interviews people, short interviews. Yeah, 2 minutes.
Totally.
And he walks up to successful people and says, "Have you ever been broke before?" And it's obvious the person they're getting out of a Rolls Royce, or they're standing next to a Ferrari or something. Yeah. And now for some reason Hollywood has let him in. So the other day he asked Tom Cruise, "Have you ever been broke before?" Right. Yeah. So somebody gave him access. He did a thing with Will Smith, but these nuggets of information that people give out about their path is. And they talk a lot about money, but I'm really more interested in, how did you get from where you are to where you were to where you are? And the majority of those people cite that they did not do it on their own at all.
Oh
that
my gosh.
It was very much a shared experience with other people. Mm-hmm. However, they accepted their role as the leader because nobody else was going to bring as much fire as they envisioned themselves bringing. So,
boy, if you can find people that make you want to run through walls, I'll tell you what. It's a giant exercise in people. It's becoming more clear to me as every day goes by, as every minute goes by. Mm-hmm. And I'm also becoming very, very choosy, so to speak. I'm social about who I spend my time with and what I'm willing to do. Not because I'm hot stuff. No. That's not it at all. Because I just want to stay where I'm at. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I recognize in my own life, if I am surrounding myself with people that make me, that they accept me for who I am, I'm not perfect, right? And I definitely realize it's not been me. It's been the people around me. But if I can surround myself with people that literally make me want to run through walls, it's, here we are, we'll see how deep the rabbit hole goes type thing. You know what I mean?
Well, also too, everybody brings something different to your life. Hopefully I've brought some things to your life today that just build upon where you were before 1, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the next conversation that you have does the same. Then to me, that's validation that you're spending your time, not only who you want to be with, but that you're learning something new, something that you can apply, something you want to think back on.
Yeah.
Because it's really not fun to stand still when you can move forward, and it's so horrible to move backwards. But I'm always looking for, not only through people, but I do a fair amount of reading, and I like in addition to writing is reading other people's perspectives on different things.
Yeah.
And it can be, anything from stuff that Leonardo da Vinci wrote that really doesn't make sense to anybody else except me.
Yeah.
Or must make sense to other people, or he wouldn't have written it. But it's you're just building upon your sense of curiosity to learn something you didn't know, or maybe somebody reminded you of from that you learned a long time ago.
You've motivated me to tap into those recurring thoughts a lot. That really stuck with me. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of them out there, but you really do have to get into your brain.
Yeah.
And think, okay, what are those things that are going to happen, whether you know it or not, that are that are recurring, and what are those recurring pieces, and they happen. Let's face it. They probably make your life simpler too, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not having to think about new strategy all day long.
Do you find with those memories and thoughts from your for some reason smells? I don't know why the olfactory.
I can tell you.
But I was like assuming I want to hear how you can tell me. I was like also kind of like wanted to how did that I'm assuming it's a very there's a lot of that in Montanare as well, right?
Oh man,
you'll smell something maybe in someone's home, or a bottle of wine opens and you're like, oh my word. It's like,
do you know what it is when you have a chance, just put in 10 years in Tuscany in YouTube, and you'll see there's a 1 minute promo that we did with a drone.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's this little 1-lane road that goes up, right?
Yeah.
And it's gravel. It's made out of gravel.
Yeah.
And on that road, if it's not too dusty and you have the windows down, you can smell many things. Number one, during the fall, before the olives are harvested, you smell right after you go by the little post office, and it kind of goes up an incline. You can smell the leaves that are on olive trees have a certain smell to them,
pungent,
and they get almost silver when the grapes are ready. That's one of the ways that the podere, they call them, know that it's time to gather or do what's called raccolta, which is the gathering of the olives. But as you go up that little incline during the fall, you pick up that smell, number one, and then you go by the first house on the left, and wild basil grows all over that area. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you get up to Francesca's house on the right, and if it's the daytime, she's cooking.
Yeah.
So whatever she's cooking, you smell as you go.
Yeah.
And she also cooks a lot in an outdoor oven with wood. You know how wood-fired pizza is some big rage in America?
Yeah.
They've been cooking that way
for
500 years, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have General Electric had nothing
totally
in the
Such a beautiful way to cook too. My dad was a culinary artist. Like I told you, he opened a restaurant. So his second career, he gets his culinary arts degree, and he built a wood burning oven in his backyard.
Yeah.
It would make bread like that. And my gosh, it was amazing.
But anyway, the smells are in Italy, but anyway, I wasn't sure quite where you were going with that, but I wanted to tell you something important.
Please.
So, I'm a student of brain science, and it kind of came with all of this passion for helping children with pediatric brain tumor. So I got to learn the different parts of the brain.
Yes.
So the reason why smell is so nostalgic is because the place in your brain, your cerebellum, that stores your long-term memory is also the place that identifies smells.
Oh, wow.
So when you you go into an old house.
Yep.
And it's like, wow, this smells just like my grandma's basement.
Yeah, where's the butterscotch dish?
Right. And the reason why is because your cerebellum stores all of your long-term memory, but that's also the place that identifies smells. So they're connected in your brain. And anyway, so yes, smell
always brings me back.
Yeah.
So wild. Yeah.
We have a lot of lavender in our front yard, and we also have, on purpose, a big jasmine tree.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And jasmine doesn't grow really well around here because it's not light. We don't have enough sun.
Yeah.
But where we put this one is south facing, so at least we get enough. And man, when that thing, when that's blooming, that's like we feel like we're sitting under the olive tree.
Yeah,
in Montanare, because
I love that.
That's that smell.
Yeah. I had an experience when I dropped out of college because I'm an entrepreneur. I didn't know I was at the time, and college wasn't built for me. And I started running ultra marathons. Yeah, and I went another layer of my life where everyone was just showering me with so much, good favor and what have you. And I got to run with people I had no business running. I started competing in races I had no business competing in and stuff like that. And I started running on the PCT for one of the first ultras I ever did on the Pacific Crest Trail. And I remember it was July and I was outside of Ashland, Oregon. And I remember running through fields of wild mint. And I was, oh my word. I was like, what did I just do? Yeah. How did I find myself here? I'm suffering so much, but oh my gosh, I'm running through wild mint. This is pretty cool. So,
mint and eucalyptus.
Oh,
those smells are amazing. There's also some smells that take me back to Africa too. And that's perhaps another time for another conversation about what it's like to experience the same. So I'm in these small villages in Africa.
Yeah.
There's 3,750 Africans and 3 white people.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Those villages all have kind of their own smell as well, but it's more heightened when you are a racial minority and they haven't met you yet, or they don't know why you're there. Once they figure out why you're there, that you are there to enhance their community, or at least you're studying their village for that purpose, all of a sudden everything changes and they don't want you to leave. That's
totally.
In fact, one vivid experience was we were in the very eastern part of Sierra Leone. So Sierra Leone's West Africa. Got it?
Yep.
And so we were in the very, very eastern part of Sierra Leone on the Ghana border and, on the Liberia border. And we had built a library there. We had, this organization had built a library there, and I happened to be there as part of a donor group. Right. Yeah. And they had nothing, right? They had absolutely nothing. They were living on $1 a day and they had nothing. and they would not let us leave the village until we accepted a goat.
Yeah.
And they wanted to slaughter this goat and gut the goat and prepare the goat.
Yeah.
And they were not going to let us leave until we strapped this goat on the top of this, basically like a pathfinder.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the Honorable Joseph Leone, who I was with, who was a senator in the Sierra Leone government, said to them that you would be starving your own children by getting rid of this goat, this skinny little goat, for our benefit. And he had to go on and on and on and on and on with these people. And they speak a language that I do not understand one word of.
Sure.
Called Krill. That's the name of the language there. But my point of telling you this is that when you get close to people in places that you never thought you would go, the smells change.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, they're very standoffish until they realize why you're there and that you're there for something positive. Everything changes. And when everything changes, all of a sudden you are now accepted into every part of their lives. So there's a stark difference when you arrive, and it's the color of your skin.
Yeah.
But when you leave, you now are part of their village. And the problem too, Trevor, with this is you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
Right. You realize this shift has happened, and now you want to be there. Right. And there's been multiple occasions where I've said to somebody like the Honorable Joseph Leone, can't we just stay here? Is there a reason why we have to leave? And he said, yeah, there's 17 million other people in this country that need our help right now.
Oh, wow.
So we can't stay here.
Yeah,
and it's like just tears your guts out that these people who want you so desperately to stay for dinner, stay for whatever, you can't stay. Wow. And so one kind of last story is I was able to put together a donor group to build a large school, and that my mother is named after.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
And so then I went in 2018 for the unveiling of this school in the community. Mm-hmm. And they knew I was coming, and they knew who my mother was. And I didn't know how much forward knowledge any of this. We were building a school in a village in eastern Sierra Leone, of which I had visited 2 years before. But again, that's about all the knowledge I had.
Yeah.
Well, they brought, first of all, they built a school, and the school was incredible. That was an amazing experience. But then they said, and forgive me if I get emotional, they said that the most important thing that they could do for us, for this donor group of which I was representing, was to give us our own name and our own personal identification. And they wanted my name to be one of the founding members' names of that village. And they were going to reserve a place for me to be buried there.
Whoa. Nice. Yeah.
When I die.
Yeah. Wow.
Because that's how important this school was. They knew that their lives would never be the same again, because their children would learn how to read, would learn how to speak English, and would learn how to lead their country because of their education. And then we had to leave. Yeah,
of course. The other shoe drops. You got to get there.
Right. And the last thing they said to me, the leader of the village, the tribal leader, he said, and again, this is all being double translated, right?
Yeah.
From the local tribal language, local being the eastern part of Sierra Leone, into the national language, into English. Got it? So this is all coming back to me. And then so he said to me, I know that you have a daughter. And I didn't know that someone had told him that I had a daughter. And he said, when you bring her back here, we will give her name too.
Oh, wow.
And we will honor her. So please bring her back here.
Yeah.
And what I wouldn't give to take my daughter back to that village, which will happen someday.
Yeah.
But then COVID happened, and then Daniela went off to college. But the main thing that I'm getting at here is what we do for other people is more important than what we do for ourselves.
Mm.
And what we do for other people when it's their greatest need is the most important use of our time.
Mm.
For us to be able to teach 200 children a year to be able to read, to be able to speak English, and to be able to lead their country is way more important than anything we could possibly do for ourselves. Mm. And that's why this international development work is so important to me.
Mm.
So
it's hope. It's hope, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely.
It's hope by the boatful, it sounds like, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot, man.
It's good stuff.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want our conversation to end. B, I don't even know if I want to ask the question I ask every single guest, Larry. This has been such a lovely conversation. I'm so grateful for your time.
Go ahead, ask it. Ask me.
Well, this is what I ask every single person that comes on this pod. I go, we have to accept a basic premise that fundraising is hard. I know you'll do a great job of the question, so I'm happy to ask it, actually.
Sure.
We go, fundraising is hard. Don't make it more difficult by doing what?
I think, first of all, by making assumptions. Mm-hmm. You're making it hard for yourself because you're setting up yourself with not enough facts. Yeah. Everything becomes a lot easier to understand when you have more information. And so when you have more information, you also can trust the process more. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so my answer to that question would be gather more information, not less information. Yeah. And also trust the process. Be trustful that the process that you've created of building trust with other people will come back to satisfy why you're doing it in the first place. Yeah. The other part of it is, as we talked about earlier, is why are people making a donation? Yeah. Why are they doing this? Mm-hmm. They're doing it for a reason. Everyone comes to this point in their life with good reason. And then the other part that is important, I think, is people have done, especially this Silver Tsunami crowd, have done very, very good stewarding their own personal finances.
Yeah, their own wealth. Yeah.
And they want to make a decision about their giving that is just as important as the effort that they put in to making these investments stay safe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So honor that part of it.
Yep.
By knowing that $500 check, that $5,000 check, that $50,000, whatever it is the most important donation that they will ever make. Yeah. Because they worked really hard for those funds, yeah. But more importantly, they protected those funds for however many years it took to get you in front of them. Yeah. And I think when we think about people's discretionary giving that way, I think we become a lot more humble about it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, the humility piece is really, really good. The graciousness piece, right? That too, right? It's like people are really, folks that are in a position to give are really, really smart how they acquire their money, how they grew their money, and how they give it away. Yeah.
Right. And also, though, that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Obviously, making sure that people understand how their funds were invested and what, and this is why child sponsorship is so important in Africa and Central America and Southeast Asia, is because if I'm asking you to make a recurring gift of $100 a month because little Johnny wants to go to school, but he can't go to school without you. He can't. So what I want to make sure when I'm finding these trusted partners is that they have a child sponsorship program that has at least a quarterly update with a picture and, any other information about their community.
Show people.
Yeah. Show people, but also I want to know what Johnny's up to. This is important to me, that he keeps going to school, that he keeps playing soccer, that we sent Johnny to school, because the way it works in Africa, Trevor, is only one kid per family can go to school.
Okay.
So there might be 8 kids in the family, but only one can go. And so what that means is that Johnny, who we're paying $100 a month into this nonprofit to get to school, Johnny's responsible to teach 7 other children how to speak English.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that $100 a month is not one kid.
Yeah.
And so I need to make sure I use the term trusted partner because I need to make sure that when I'm representing a donor group, that the NGO is doing what I said they're doing when I asked these people to come alongside this project, right?
Right.
It's my reputation, just like yours.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Johnny goes to school and then comes home after school, and then that evening is teaching 7 brothers and sisters how to speak English, right? So the multiplier effect when this is done right is giant, and this is why the education evolution in Africa, in particular, is so exciting to me. The problem is they're having too many kids. That's the main issue.
Sure, I can see that.
Johnny's mom and dad need to practice birth control, and they don't. And so Johnny's parents have babies until they can't anymore.
Yeah,
and so that's a different
education piece. Yeah.
But I do support a couple of organizations that are involved in contraceptive distribution in Africa, but it's a long shot.
I get you. Yeah. First things first.
Keep knocking those kids out left and right. So
this has been the longest episode on Hey Nonprofits ever. I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it, man.
Me too.
Yeah.
I did want to introduce myself though as the nonprofit. Here I am right here. Just wanted to make sure that
that's awesome.
You knew.
Well, this is also, I enjoyed every minute of it. This is also your invite. I want you to come back in the fall when the book comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll talk about it if you don't mind. I would love that. This is your invite to come back. I can't thank you enough for being so gracious with your time.
Oh, no, this is a great experience for me, Trevor. I think you and I share a lot of common thread.
100%.
And please let me know what I can do to be involved in your business. Again, if you attend trade shows or do things that I can inspire you to be more resourceful with.
Yeah.
I just need you just have to ask me. Do you understand that?
100%. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. We'll certainly be in touch. I can already tell. So I appreciate you. Like I said, thank you so much. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
There's always money somewhere. The money just doesn't seem to be the huge issue. Sometimes that's kind of like, hey, we need money. Great. But let's peel back and see what the real issue. You want to cook with shortcuts? It's going to taste like shortcuts. The clearer we can be with the ask, the easier, whether that's help or whether that's directive.